"Hold it right there, old man," Brandon shouted, his voice echoing off the high ceilings, causing wealthy clients in silk suits to stop and stare. "The line for the soup kitchen is down the street. This is a VIP lounge for people who actually contribute to the economy." Thomas looked up calmly, his weathered hands gripping a simple withdrawal slip. "I've been a client here for 30 years, son. I just need to withdraw some funds for a new tractor on my farm." Brandon let out a loud, mocking laugh that felt like a slap. "A tractor? Look at you. You smell like manure and failure. A single tile on this floor costs more than your life savings. Security. Get this street rat out of here. He's making the air expensive." The security guard grabbed Thomas's arm roughly, but Thomas didn't move. He looked Brandon straight in the eye, his voice low and steady. "You shouldn't judge a book by its cover, Brandon. It might be the most expensive mistake you ever make. The only mistake here is that you're still breathing my air." Brandon hissed. "Throw him out on the sidewalk where he belongs." Welcome back to Scarred but Pure. Today, we witness a moment of pure arrogance in the heart of New York City. A man who thought a suit made him a king, and a farmer who proved him wrong. If you believe that every human being deserves respect, no matter what they wear, hit that subscribe button right now. Drop a respect in the comments and let us know which part of the world you are watching from. Let's see justice be served. The morning sun over the Hudson Valley didn't care about stock prices or hedge funds. It only cared about the soil. Thomas Miller stood in the center of his 5,000-acre estate, his boots sinking into the rich, dark earth he had tended for 50 years. His hands were a map of hard labor. Cracked skin, permanent dirt under the nails, and scars from barbed wire and heavy machinery. To his neighbors, he was just Old Tom, the man who drove a 1998 Ford F-150 and wore the same faded denim jacket every winter. Nobody knew that the organic produce leaving his gates fed the most expensive restaurants in Manhattan. Nobody knew that the Miller Organic label was the gold standard for the elite. Today, Thomas needed a new irrigation system. A drought was coming, and his local supplier only accepted certified bank drafts for the high-end German equipment he needed. It was $1.2 million. Pocket change for Thomas, but a mountain for anyone else. "I'll be back by noon, Sarah," he whispered, looking at a framed photo of his late wife on the dashboard of his truck. He took a deep breath, adjusted his sweat-stained baseball cap, and began the 2-hour drive into the heart of the beast, Manhattan. As the skyscrapers of New York City rose to meet him, Thomas felt like an alien. His rusty truck rattled among the silent, electric Teslas and humming Lamborghinis. He parked 3 blocks away from Manhattan Trust Bank, the most prestigious financial institution on Wall Street, because he knew his truck leaked a little oil, and he didn't want to ruin the pristine asphalt in front of the lobby. He walked toward the bank, his limp a reminder of a tractor accident 10 years ago. Passers-by in suits stepped away from him, clutching their briefcases as if his poverty were contagious. Thomas didn't mind. He had the peace of the woods in his heart. But as he pushed open the massive gold-plated doors of Manhattan Trust, that peace was about to be shattered. Inside, the bank smelled of expensive mahogany and filtered air. It was a cathedral of greed. Brandon Thorne, the branch manager, stood at the center of the lobby like a preening peacock. His $3,000 Italian suit was tailored to perfection, his hair slicked back with enough gel to withstand a hurricane. To Brandon, the bank was a VIP club, and he was the bouncer. He was currently laughing with a high-profile socialite when he caught a scent, a smell of damp earth, diesel, and old denim. He turned, his nose wrinkling in immediate disgust. Thomas was standing in the VIP line. He had been a Titan class member of this bank for 3 decades, a status reserved for those with 9 figures in their accounts. He held a simple, crumpled withdrawal slip in his hand. "Excuse me," a voice hissed. Thomas turned. Brandon was standing 2 feet away, keeping a safe distance as if Thomas were a stray animal. "The sidewalk is that way, Grandpa," Brandon said, his voice loud enough to silence the room. "The automated teller for the public is around the corner. We don't allow vagrants in the private wealth lounge." Thomas looked at the gold plaque on the man's chest. "Brandon Thorne, branch manager." "I'm not a vagrant, Mr. Thorne," Thomas said softly. "I've been a client here since before you were born. I just need to make a withdrawal." Brandon let out a sharp, jagged laugh. He turned to the wealthy clients watching the scene. "Did you hear that? He's a client. Sir, the only thing you could possibly withdraw from this bank is the dirt you're tracking onto our hand-woven Persian rugs. Look at your boots. You're staining the marble." "I'm sorry about the mud," Thomas said, maintaining his dignity. "I came straight from the fields. But my money is as green as anyone else's here." Brandon stepped closer, his voice dropping to a low, venomous growl. "Listen to me, you pathetic piece of trash. People come here to feel successful. They pay for exclusivity. Your presence here is a violation of our brand. You smell like a barn, you look like a failure, and quite frankly, you're an eyesore. If you don't leave in 5 seconds, I'm calling the NYPD to have you processed for trespassing." The room was deathly quiet. A young woman in the line behind Thomas, a junior analyst named Emily, felt her heart ache. She moved to speak, but Brandon flashed her a warning look that said, "Interfere and you're fired." Thomas didn't move. "I have a right to access my funds, Brandon. I suggest you take this slip and process the request." Brandon snatched the slip from Thomas's hand. He didn't even look at it. He crumpled it into a ball and threw it at Thomas's chest. "I don't need to look at a piece of paper to know there's nothing on it," Brandon mocked. "What's in there, Thomas? $20? 100? Maybe you saved up your Social Security check to buy a fancy dinner? Well, go buy it somewhere else. Security. Escort this street rat to the curb. And use the disinfectant spray once he's gone." 2 massive security guards in black suits approached. They grabbed Thomas by the arms. The grip was tight, meant to hurt. "Wait," Thomas said, his voice changing. It wasn't the voice of a tired old farmer anymore. It was the voice of a man who owned the very air Brandon breathed. "Check the account, Brandon. One last time. For your own sake." Brandon sneered, feeling superior. "Fine. I'll play your little game. I'll put your name in the system just so I can watch the insufficient funds light turn red. It'll be the highlight of my day." Brandon marched over to his high-tech terminal. He began typing with a smirk, mocking Thomas's name under his breath. "Thomas Miller. Social Security ending in 4-4-0-2. He hit the Enter key with a flourish. The screen didn't turn red. It didn't flash an error. The entire system of Manhattan Trust Bank suddenly froze. A deep royal blue screen, the Titan encryption, locked every terminal in the building. A siren didn't go off, but a silent alert was sent directly to the global headquarters in London and the regional director's office upstairs. Brandon's smirk vanished. He hit the keys again. What is this? The computer is frozen. He looked at the bottom of the screen. The balance started to scroll. $1, $10, $100, $1,000, $10,000, $100,000. The zeros kept coming, like a waterfall of gold. It didn't stop until it reached $145,500,000 in the primary liquid account. And then a secondary tab opened. Land assets. $400 million. Institutional credits. $200 million. Brandon's heart skipped a beat. Then it stopped. His face went from pale to ghostly white. His hands began to shake so violently he had to grip the edge of the desk. The elevator doors at the back of the lobby hissed open. Mr. Sterling, the regional director and a man who was rarely seen in public, came sprinting out. He wasn't wearing his jacket. He was sweating. Who accessed the Miller account? Sterling shouted, his voice echoing with panic. I just got a Tier 1 alert. Is Mr. Miller here? Is he okay? Sterling's eyes panned the room. He ignored the socialites. He ignored Brandon. He saw the two security guards holding an old man in a denim jacket near the door. Thomas! Sterling screamed, running toward them. Get your hands off him. Now! The guards jumped back as if they had been burned. Sterling reached Thomas and practically fell to his knees, shaking Thomas's hand with both of his. Thomas, my deepest, most sincere apologies. I had no idea you were coming to the city today. Why are you standing by the door? Why aren't you in my private office? Thomas looked at Brandon, who was currently trying to hide behind his computer screen, looking like he wanted to vanish into the earth. I tried, Arthur, Thomas said calmly. But your manager here told me that Manhattan Trust doesn't serve trash like me. He said I smell like failure. Sterling turned slowly. The look on his face was one of pure, unadulterated murder. He walked toward Brandon's desk. Every step sounded like a gavel hitting a sounding board. Brandon Thorne, Sterling said, his voice a low, terrifying whisper. Do you know who this man is? I thought, his clothes. The mud. Brandon stammered, his voice breaking into a sob. This man, Sterling gestured to Thomas, is the founder of Miller Organics. He owns 3 of the buildings on this block. He is the person who personally funded the expansion of this very branch. And more importantly, he is a man of character. Something you wouldn't know if it hit you like a freight train. Sterling looked at the entire bank. Brandon, you aren't just fired. I am personally calling every member of the New York Banking Association. I will ensure that you are blacklisted from every financial institution from here to the West Coast. You want to talk about failure? Go look in a mirror. You're done. Brandon began to beg. He fell to the floor, clutching at Sterling's shoes. Please, sir. I have a mortgage. I have a reputation. I'll apologize. I'll wash his boots with my own shirt. Thomas walked over. He looked down at the man who had tried to destroy his dignity an hour ago. He didn't look angry. He looked disappointed. Keep your shirt, Brandon, Thomas said. You'll need it for your next job. I hear the grocery store 3 blocks down needs someone to push carts. They don't care about suits there, only about how hard you work. Thomas then looked at Mr. Sterling. Arthur, I want to close the accounts. All of them. The $145 million, the trust funds, the corporate payrolls. Everything. Sterling turned pale. Thomas, please. This branch would collapse. We can make this right. You already did, Thomas said, pointing to Emily, the young analyst who had looked at him with pity earlier. She was the only one in this room who looked at me like a human being. Give her Brandon's office. Give her his salary. And if she's the one managing my account, maybe I'll leave the money here. Sterling didn't hesitate. Emily, you're the new branch manager. Effective immediately. The bank erupted in a mixture of gasps and hushed whispers. Brandon was dragged out of the building by the same security guards he had commanded. His $3,000 suit scuffed and dirty as he was tossed onto the New York sidewalk. Thomas Miller walked out of the bank, his limp still visible, his denim jacket still faded. He walked back to his old Ford F-150, ignored the parking ticket on his windshield, and started the engine. As he drove away from the skyscrapers, leaving the greed and the marble behind, he looked at the photo of his wife on the dash. We got the irrigation system, Sarah, he whispered with a smile. And I think I taught a few city folks how to plant a better seed. The sun set over the Hudson Valley that night, shining on a man who didn't need a suit to be a king. Thomas Miller returned to his earth, knowing that while money can buy a bank, only respect can buy a legacy.